Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I will call to order the November 16th meeting of the trustees of trust funds. And we'll start by reviewing and approving the minutes of the last two meetings. We'll start with the September 14th minute.
Because we're on Zoom, we need to do a roll call.
Very good point. See, whenever Dana goes away, I forget all the protocols. So thank you, Peter. We will do a roll call. We'll start with Mr. Weeks.
Present.
Mr. Levinson.
Here.
And the chair is present. I declare there is a quorum. And now we'll start with the approval of the minutes. So the first one is the September 14th version, which contains the change that you requested at the last meeting. Dana?
Right.
Are you good with that change?
I am.
Okay, and I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So move.
I'll move it. Second.
Okay. Any further comments or corrections? Hearing none. All in favor? We got to do a roll call. We'll start with Peter.
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And then the other meeting minutes are those from the October 27th meeting, our most recent one. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start with Dana.
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. So let's skip the Mortimer community one and come back to it and do the new document that you saw for the first time in the materials that was sent out yesterday, and that's the Portsmouth Indoor Pool Charitable Trust. So this is an trust agreement that was worked out with the individuals who formed a nonprofit 15, 20 years ago to support continuing to keep open the indoor pool. And that organization has now decided that it is willing to turn the money over to the city to allow it to use that money on the maintenance and improvement of the pool, subject to certain conditions that the city will agree to maintain the pool, to have adequate supervision, et cetera. It's all laid out in that draft of that agreement. And that agreement was worked out between was it Mike Chubich and Chuck Doliak on behalf of SIP and Suzanne Woodland. I did have an opportunity to review and comment on it. My changes related to the policy that we've had in the past, which is that it's drafted so that we are not required to make any decisions on whether the money is being appropriately used. We're required to get a certification. There's a couple ways by which monies can be dispersed, but to the extent that those monies are required, the dispersal is required to be approved by the city council, then we will get a requisition from the city manager's office along with minutes of the city council meeting showing that the approval was given. And then a couple other instances, they reflect that like a certain timeline has gone by. If you've had a chance to review, you saw that in 2030, if the monies have not been spent by June 30th, or haven't been released to a third party because the city had shut down the pool before that date, that the city, the monies can simply be released by us to the city manager, and it does not require a council approval, so we're just asking for they just provide for the city manager can request that without council approval, so we don't need the minutes of a meeting for that.
Well, I question why, because this was set up way back with the city council's approval. I noticed in here that the city manager, which just carries out the policies of the council, why the city manager can request it and then without the council's approval.
I'm not sure, when you say this was set up, the SIP was set up as a private nonprofit.
Right, working with the city and the council in order, and I think the agreement was SIP would raise X number of dollars per year, the city would maintain the operation of the pool. And that was all done, I know, that was done through the council. So I just wondered why.
I was not part of the negotiating between the SIP people and Suzanne. I'm told that this is what they negotiated. So apparently this document will be approved by the city council. I don't know if you saw that. So I presume this is the city council has decided that they don't need to take a vote every time an expenditure is made. So I think that's a policy decision of which.
But I want to make sure that the council has agreed to that.
Well, so my understanding is the process from here is that this will be on the agenda for the December 4th city council meeting.
Yeah.
And they will vote to enter into this agreement. I don't, this is pretty clear that this is not simply an agreement between SIP and the city manager. Because it does have financial commitments, the city council has to sign off on it. So presumably they will be approving the entire procedures that are set forth in there.
So in looking at this, are we able to sign, because we are signers of it, till after the city council approves it?
Exactly. So the process would be that if we approve the form of this document, then Suzanne will present it to the city council at the next meeting. They will approve it, and then that will be signed off by the city manager after that meeting, and then.
With a copy of the minutes, because it says pursuant to a vote of the city council.
Sure, yeah, yeah. And then we can, what I propose to Suzanne is, once she indicates the city council has signed off on it or has approved it, then she'll send out a draft without the draft, send out a final version without the draft watermark, and we can email that to you, Dana,
Yeah.
and then you could sign it, and then you and I can either come in, or we could do it at our next meeting on December 14th.
Yeah.
I'll be back on Monday.
You'll be back on December 14th, or?
No, I'm gone then again, but this Monday I'm back.
Yeah, well,
So
except for
I
we won't know that this is the final version until the city council approves it. So
Okay.
we're being asked
So
to,
what are we being asked to do now if we have to wait for city council approval of the trust?
we're simply being asked to approve this draft because we're going to enter into it. In other words, we're agreeing that we're prepared to accept the monies and handle them in this fashion. That's basically it. We're not in a position, we can't sign it because until the city council approves it, it doesn't have the SIP people have already approved it. And so it's up to us and the city council before it can be ready for execution. Any other questions about it?
So I'm a little confused, given Peter's comments. On disbursements, how are we going to get notice of a requested disbursement and from whom?
Okay, so it depends on the disbursement, but, so the process is that if we approve the form of this, the terms, then the next step, it's already been approved by the SIP people. The next step is it goes to the city council, and then we'll get minutes of the city council meeting on December 4th, along with a final version ready for signature without the watermark. And so that's what we'll get before we sign. Now,
Okay.
the disbursements depend upon what the purpose for the disbursement is. So if the disbursement is for a capital improvement project, then we just simply get a request from the city manager saying this is how much money transferred to the city for deposit in the special reserve fund. That does not require a city council vote. If the city decides to close the pool before the September 30, 2030, then those funds are dispersed to a nonprofit who operates an indoor pool. I think the only one that would qualify right now would be the YMCA, but the city council, so that takes place, by operation of law, so to speak. The city council, however, has to vote on who the recipient will be. So we will get a request from the city manager for the dispersal with the minutes of the vote of the city council saying where it's supposed to go. And then the final thing is any funds that we're still holding on June 30, 2030, those we release those upon a request of the city manager to the city special reserve fund. No city council vote is required.
And I guess I was surprised that the city council wasn't involved in that, so.
Well,
And it also says 35% of the cost.
yeah. But that's if there's a capital improvement project.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, presumably, if the city council signs off on it, it indicates that they don't want to be involved every time there's an individual disbursement. Other questions, Dana?
No.
Any other questions, Peter?
No, we'll just wait and see what happens on the 4th.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do is take a vote today that we approve the form of this document.
I will make that motion subject to the approval of the city council.
Absolutely. Do we hear a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
And certainly, we don't sign it until we see the documents and everything.
Right.
But any further discussion on that motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. All right, now the Mortimer and Community Scholarship. So I'm going to do this primarily for your benefit, Dana, but I guess for the record as well, because I was explaining this to Peter just before we started. So what you have in front of you, what you received yesterday evening, are both redlined versions of the non-judicial settlement agreements, all three of them, one for community scholarships and the other for Mortimer 1 and then the last for Mortimer 2, along with what I call clean versions, which are versions that have those changes, the red line changes incorporated into an execution copy. So the quick history on that, following up on where we were last month when we discussed this, is that I was able to communicate with Susan Morel. She, because Kathleen was vacationing in Spain, and I guess on a prolonged vacation, Susan was able to communicate with the director of the Charitable Trust Division of the AG's office. The AG's office had indicated that it wanted some final changes to the drafts of these agreements that we had signed back in September. And the Kathleen, in her communications back in October with the AG's office, had made revised versions, sent it to the AG for approval. It were approved, and then because she left, they were stuck in limbo, if you will. And when Susan reached out to the AG's office, she received an email saying, we've approved the changes, the final changes made by Kathleen, but the email was a little ambiguous because it had a document attached to it, but it also had a link into what were described as the documents. Long story short, Susan did a electronic comparison of the documents that were attached to that email with the documents that we signed. And so the red line versions that you see is, those versions are, reflect the changes that were made. Now, she only had a chance to do it to 2 out of the 3. Yesterday evening, I went through and did a non-electronic, but a visual comparison. And so I can tell you what those changes are, and then we can decide if we're now ready to sign off on these and start the process of signatures again.
Okay.
I'll take it through. Let's start with the community scholarship one. The primary change that she wanted in all 3 of the documents was to have a second statutory reference as the basis for the agreement. So without getting into a discussion of legalities, the whole non-judicial settlement agreement is a creature of statute as an alternative to having to go to court and with a Cypre action to have trust documents changed. And the statute lists 3 or 4 legal bases for allowing for a change by agreement. The first one is, and this is if you look at the heading where it says non-judicial settlement agreement pursuant to the 2 RSAs.
Yeah.
The first one, which is the 564B1-111, is the one that was cited by Kathleen, and so the individual at the Attorney General's office wanted the second cite, and that's where the 564B4-415 was added. And so on the community scholarships, that was the only change. It's in the heading, and then it's added on to paragraph 4. And then,
Yeah. I don't know why I don't, the ones I'm looking at don't have that.
have you got that email?
Yeah, I'm gonna, yes,
So if you-
yes, I do.
Okay, so if you open the email, the note before me in that chain was an email from Judy in which she sent documents. And
No,
just before that is the email, oh, actually, I'll take that back. I was able to skip the one from Judy. The one I sent out, I forwarded the email from Susan, and she had attached to it 2 documents, the 2 red line ones. One for
Yeah.
scholarship and one for Mortimer 2. If you can open
Yeah,
those documents.
I have those.
Okay, so if you open those, you'll see the redlining.
Yeah, I did see that on the Mortimer.
That's right. All right, well,
Yeah.
also on the community scholarship one.
I don't know why, okay. I might not have. All right, so go ahead. I have it. I didn't print out every single one, so I think I missed it.
Okay, all right, well, if you can pull it up on your computer and look at it, we can walk it through that way.
So we're on the community scholarship, right?
That's right.
Here it is, I got it.
Okay, so you'll see. that-
B4 415
Exactly.
is the new reference.
That's
Got
the
it.
reference at the top and at the end of paragraph 4.
Yeah,
And then,
I see it. Yeah,
your name is spelled correctly on the signature page, and Susan is added as a signatory.
okay, I see it, yeah.
So those are the only changes. If I don't see those as changing any of the intent of the document. That's my opinion. Any questions or concerns about the changes?
Oh, yeah, here it is, I got it, okay. No. My only question is 415,
Yep.
that RSA ending in 415. The Mortimer is 412. Is there anything of note there?
Yeah, hold on, let me. Yeah. It's because of again, there's slightly different reasons listed.
Okay, all right, so I
Unfortunately,
just want to make sure.
I printed out that section of both sections of the statutes last night, and I left them on my desk at home. It's unfortunate. I'd have to have the statute in front of me to be able to explain to you which one it was. But
No, I'm fine, as long as it's acknowledged that it's two distinct statutes, each appropriate for the trust in question.
Okay, well, okay, I think I can figure it out from the document. So if you look at the bottom of page, the end of paragraph 4, when it adds in, I should say, so the section at the heading at the top, the 1-111B, that's just a statute that says that you can use this non-judicial settlement agreement as an alternative to having to go to court, right?
Yeah.
If all parties agree and they can effectuate change. The statute, and I should say if qualified, the statute says you can't do that unless you meet one of these criteria. So 4-415 is one that says you can use this technique if you're authorizing a reformation to correct a mistake. And so if you look at the document, well, what we've said, the way it was drafted by Kathleen, we've said that that the failure to say that a qualified student could come from a school outside, have a high school graduation from a secondary school outside New Hampshire was a mistake on our part, and we're trying to correct that. So we're using that portion of the statute that says you can use a non-judicial settlement agreement to correct an error when you drafted the thing in the first place. So that's why that's being cited there. Now, if you go over to the Mortimer ones, their reference, which is the 4-412, I'm looking at Mortimer 2.
Right.
If you go over to page 14, now I'll walk through this one when we vote on that separately, but it says there 4-412, due to an unanticipated circumstances of a significant increase in the principal. So that statute says that if something happens that was not anticipated by the settler of the trust, that's a legitimate reason for modifying it by agreement of the parties. And as we know, the significant and not anticipated event was a $912,000, contribution following Bill's death. So what the AG wanted to do is to have the statutory reference on which the changes are being made.
Yeah.
I think
Got
it's more precise, it makes sense.
Right.
So going back to the community scholarships, is there any other questions or?
No.
Okay, then I would ask for a motion that we approve this document.
I'll move approval.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So what I will, you have a clean version of this, right, Dana?
Dana, I can send you a clean one if you'd rather have me do that.
Well, you're coming back
Yeah,
on Monday,
good.
he says. You'll be back on Monday?
Yeah.
All right. Will you have a chance to come in then to,
I'm not here on Monday.
Yes.
I'm not here.
all right, but what day, you'll be here Tuesday? Or you're off?
I'm off next week. It's Thanksgiving week,
Oh.
I'm off.
Okay. All right. How long are you going to be around, Dana, when you're back?
Till I think the 7th or 8th of December.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. Why don't you just, when you get settled in next week, call me, and I'll get together with you and have a document to be signed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
why don't, Peter and I can just sign this today. Today is the what, 16th?
Yes,
Today is the
16.
16th.
like I'm at a closing here or something.
Now, how do we get the Director of Charitable Trust signature?
Well, when I get together with Peter and get this signed, I'm going to bring it to Susan, and it's up to her to chase down, Zach McLaughlin, and then get it to the AG's office and get it all distributed, so. All right, so the second one, let's start with the second red line version one, which is the Mortimer 2. Did you print that one out, Dana, or do you need to?
Yeah, no, I have that one.
Okay, all right. Did you have one of those? or-
I get them all.
Okay, great. All right, so changes in that, again, the one I mentioned a minute ago, which is that there's a new statutory reference at the top. That's the one that has to do with substantial unanticipated change in circumstance. And then in paragraph 14, that has been added in and explains that it is due to unanticipated substantial change in circumstances. And then the other change is at the bottom of 14, and then a new paragraph 15. So this is something other than a statutory site. I'm not sure the basis in there, but I'm not sure that it matters to us. But so the addition is on the paragraph 14 is a new paragraph C. And it says, the trustee shall annually notify the principal of Portsmouth High School of the amount of income available for awards. Now, that's fine. We didn't need to actually do that with this document because,
What,
which one you,
14, paragraph 14,
are you a Mortimer 2 or Mortimer 1?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So paragraph 14C is new. You recall that we actually had made a change calling for this in the original Mortimer 1.
Right.
Because it didn't have that process. And we decided that we thought it was consistent with what we normally do with these things, which is to notify the school department. So I think the AG's office decided to make them consistent between the two documents, the two trusts. So I see that language not having any bad consequence from our perspective, and is consistent with what we already do. Then paragraph 15 is a change because 15 says that the new 14C replaces paragraph 11 of the trust. So if we Judy, do you happen to have the original trust agreement?
I didn't bring the original, no.
Well, so I believe that the original trust agreement said that the principal has to certify when a request is made for a check. So this would be after the award has been made by the principal or by the selection committee, that the time the check was requested, the city, the school department is to certify that it is being given to a qualified recipient. And by having this language, where paragraph 14C will replace paragraph 11, that certification is no longer required. And that is a substantive change, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you're good with that. That is, we don't get certifications on any other scholarships, do we? Yeah. There we go. So paragraph 11 says, the trustees shall make payments from the fund upon receipt of written certification by the principal of Portsmouth High School that the payments have been properly authorized pursuant to sections 5 and 7 of the agreement. Section 5 says eligible students shall submit their name for consideration through the school counseling office no later than May 1st of each year. Applicants shall submit a letter with their application stating why they believe they deserve the scholarship. Paragraph 7 says trustees may hold such funds together with all additions thereto, either in savings or special notice accounts in such investments as allowed by the laws of the state of New Hampshire. I don't know if that's what the AG is intending, is to eliminate those two provisions, but that would be the effect of having this paragraph 15.
Well, if we don't get any certification on any other scholarships, then
Right, what we get is the list. You make the decisions of
Right.
how much should come, and then they award them, then they send me back the list so that I can verify that the proper students are getting
Yeah.
the proper awards.
Yeah, and they tell you who's getting it for how much.
That's correct.
But we don't get a certification saying
No.
this
No.
student is qualified, et cetera.
No,
you do get a letter saying that these students are being awarded.
yes.
That should be fine.
Okay. How do you feel about it, Dana?
Yeah, no, that's fine, but I'm a little confused on section 5 and 7.
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean that 5 and 7 go away. It just means they don't have to certify that they've complied with 5 and 7. So obviously 7 doesn't go away because that's a matter of law. We can't disperse anything that's not, we can't invest in anything that's not allowed by the state of New Hampshire. And then 5 is still there. It doesn't say that the students don't have to apply by May 1st. It simply says that the principal will no longer have to certify that they, so.
Yep, I'm fine, that's good.
Okay. But, let me, when I'm looking at the original trust document, that it says that paragraph 11 says payments have been authorized pursuant to sections 5, and then put the number 5 in parentheses, and then 7, but she puts the number 6 in parentheses. So let's go back and look at 6. 6 says, the selection of recipients shall be made by the Portsmouth High School principal in consultation with the guidance department. So I'm okay with that change, because I don't, it's not something that we require on any other scholarship. I think it's a procedural instead of a substantive change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're referring to the certification aspect.
Yes, the removal of paragraph 11 of the trust just simply means that this principal will no longer have to certify that the recipients of the Mortimer II scholarship are qualified under those 2 sections. Doesn't mean that those sections go away. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the revised form of of this agreement.
Mortimer 1 and 2.
Well, no, I'll get to Mortimer 1 because it doesn't have the same change in it.
Okay.
So,
I'll move approval of changes to Mortimer 2.
okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will take a roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. All right, so we'll do the same on that. And I'll have that ready for your signature as well, Dana.
All right. Now, there was no red line of Mortimer 1.
That's
you
right.
sent.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
That's correct. So here's the deal with that. So I don't, because the versions of this new document are PDF, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and I don't have scanning abilities nor or my ability to convert a PDF to a regular Word document in order to do an electronic comparison. I went ahead and read the document against the original page, line by line. So I found 2 changes in it. And you can't see it, but I've highlighted these, so I'll just walk them through. The changes are in the heading at the top. Have you got the one in front of you?
Yeah, I have
Okay,
it.
all right. So you'll see, she again added the reference to section 4-412.
Right.
That's the same as Mortimer 2. And then at the end of on page 3, end of paragraph 21, on the 3rd line, the earlier version ended with the word trust, and now it says, and RSA 464-B:4-412 authorizes the foregoing changes to further the purpose of the trust and due to unanticipated circumstances of significant increase in principal.
Yeah.
So those are the same ones that were in Mortimer 2, but the other
Right.
changes aren't in this one. So the only change here is just the addition of that new statutory reference as the basis for the agreement.
Straightforward.
Yep. Any more questions about that?
And it does say that it can be awarded annually.
Yeah, that's all clear, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everything else that we had signed off in September is exactly the same, it's just the addition of that statutory reference. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve the new form of this.
So we'll,
Do I hear a
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll. Peter?
yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And we will have this one available.
Boy, what an agonizing process. Oh, my God.
It,
I must have 15 drafts of these.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I will, as I said I would, I will make sure that the high school, college person knows when they send out the email in January that Mortimer's will be a more than 1 year available.
Well, you know, and you ought to suggest to them that they ought to communicate with the people who are getting it right now so they can get the
Right.
second year.
Right.
So it's not just posted in the.
Well, I'm not sure how many because there wasn't a lot of money available before.
Well, that's true.
So anyway, they will do that. But I told her once everything was signed off, I would go up there and do it. It's a big win-win for graduating students.
Absolutely. Just imagine the students who.
Peter, you mind when she puts out the booklet of scholarships, I don't know if at this point it's hard copy or just digital, but the Mortimer description should include that benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just imagine the kid who got $1,000 last year suddenly might get $5,000 this year.
Well, we won't know that until we see what's going to be available
Yeah, well-
in January.
True. All right. Hopefully, that's the end of it for us. All right, so now we can go to the TD Wealth Management reports. So Judy sent around the dashboard,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to the November dashboard. That's right, it's going to be a little better than we've seen
Yeah.
in the last 2 months, but we're still up 5.5% over.
Over the year.
Over the, yes, year to date, so. Any questions about these?
No.
Now, these are, this is now on a calendar year, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because remember last month's
Yes.
version was fiscal year, so. Okay, that's good. Everybody got the bank statements, I assume?
Yes.
I have a question regarding the meetings now that we're going to be doing. So, we need to you need to schedule, from January, February, March meetings. We need to get those on the books so that I can reserve the room. When do you want to do, the next one will be a Zoom meeting, I'm presuming. So do you want to do it in January so that you can review the fourth quarter through December? How do you want to do that?
And we already set the date. What is the date in January?
We did?
Didn't we?
I didn't.
No, we didn't.
No.
We just did it through the end of the year, so. we
Yeah.
can-
I think we talked about it, but we didn't end up doing an actual date.
All right, so right now we have them coming in November, October and
April.
April. So I guess, we should just pick whichever months we want them to be live and then go back from there. Are we happy with October and April? I mean, essentially the end of the third quarter and the end of the first quarter? Or would we rather have them live in person
I
in
just
January and
I
July?
think we did it that way because it worked better with Dana's
Oh,
schedule.
yeah, okay. That still best for you, right? To have them live?
Yeah.
October and April?
Yeah,
October, yes. I'm fine either way. April, I might not be in person.
okay. Well, so given your annual travel plans, the question is, in terms of having them here live instead of just a, Zoom meeting, are we happy having those at the end of the first and third quarters, or would we prefer to have those at the end of the second and year end?
I think second and year end is more helpful.
Okay, so that means you won't be here for the first, the one that will take place in January, because you're always,
That's the year, you're referring to the year end?
the year-end one, yeah.
Yeah, they won't have it ready year end in January,
No,
I don't think.
But we can do it in February. I mean,
Yes, you're right, I won't be here in February.
Right.
There. Well, more than likely, I won't be there in February.
do you have a preference either way?
No, not really.
Okay. So it sounds like whichever way we do it, you're going to miss one of the in-person
One.
ones. Okay.
That's right.
All right, so we can have it in the in-person ones in February, which would be the year-end review, and then in July or August, which would be the 6-month.
6 months. Yeah.
And then
then
still
have-
do October?
What's that?
That's, because we have to do 3.
4. We got to do 4. So we're going to do 2 live and 2
Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
video conferencing. And so I'm only raised this question because from my perspective, I prefer to have them in person on what I think are the more consequential analysis, which is the year-end one and the 6-month one. And then in the fall and the spring, have them via video conference. Is that, but I don't want to, if you're okay with the way they're going right now, then I'm not, dead set on it, so. All right, so you're okay with the winter and summer ones live, and you okay with that, Dana?
Yes, yeah, I think it makes sense.
Right. So, from your knowledge of the bank, is there any reason to think that it'll be harder for them to come in person in the middle of the winter and the middle of the summer?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right. So then, we'll pick out our dates for the next 3 months of the year, of the new year. But we'll anticipate that we're going to do the year-end review in February, and that will be live. And then in May, it will be video conferencing. In August, again, live. And then November will be the video conferencing. Does that work with you, Judy?
That's fine.
You're not, when do you normally go away on vacations and stuff?
I don't have, yeah, so
Okay.
don't worry about me. I'll work around everything.
All right. So that will be the format. Why don't you let the folks know so they can start
Yep, planning ahead.
planning that way. All right. Anything else about TD?
No, but let's,
Yeah, we'll set them, our next 3.
so when is the December meeting?
Summer meeting is the 14th.
Correct.
Yep.
So, how are we looking for maybe the third week of January? 16th, 17th, 18th, somewhere?
I want to stay away from Wednesdays.
Okay. Thursday, the 18th?
Sure.
How's that look to you, Dana?
Good? Oh, wait a minute, I gotta get in the right month.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Thursday, the 18th, good.
Okay. All right. February, probably, how about the 15th of February?
Should work.
Good?
All right. March 14th?
Good?
Okay.
Does that work for you, Dana? Peter? Okay. All right, let's take it out one more to April. I guess the 18th.
Let me just check April. Yep, that would work.
Does that work for you? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So those will get in the calendars, and you'll reserve this room, Judy?
I will.
Great. Okay. Any checks for us to sign?
None.
No checks.
No checks.
Any new business?
Well, this,
We haven't got to the public comment yet, so.
there's a couple of coats there.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, and there being nobody in the public, we will assume no public, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
There a second? And I have to make a roll call. Peter?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes?
And the chair votes yes.